Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. What up, y'all? Tone Talks in the building. We gonna have a good discussion today. It's gonna be a good one. I've been telling y'all all week. We talking Candace Owens. You know, we talking Blexit, Kanye West. I got some wonderful guests today. But I'm just wondering, we gonna get to it, but where did this girl Candace Owens come from? Feel like she fell out the sky. Bunch of Republicans made her in a back room or something. We gonna talk about it today. But let me talk to you guys about my guest today. You know, first person that I have today, you all know her and love her, Yvette Carnell from Breaking Brown. We're gonna have that discussion. Yvette, are you there with me?
I'm here.
Oh man. Now the other person I have is a special guest. I have one of the founders of the real original Blexit. Can you say hello to the audience?
Hello.
We're going to talk about all of this and unravel it and give her a chance to tell us about Blexit, what it really stands for, why she started it, and how we move forward if we're going to be using it for Black Republicans. But you guys know how we do this. Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. We do this by questions. So, number one, what is Blexit and why is it being pushed by Black Republicans? What is the scandal behind the Blexit name and who had it first? We got the founder on the phone. We gonna get it clear today. You know, Owens and Kanye have pushed this thing, but is there any actual policy? Because I haven't heard any yet. It's just a bunch of just don't vote for the Democrats. That ain't good enough for Black folks where the middle Black family worth $1,700. Number two, who is Candace Owens and is she qualified to be a thought leader for Black America? She got this weird resume where she worked at Vogue and she dropped out of college and she didn't start, in her own words to the USA Today, she said, I had no interest in politics whatsoever prior to 2015. So y'all gonna follow somebody that ain't even thought about politics till 2015 and don't have a college degree? Come on, let's get to it. Number three, why is Kanye West a problem for black politics? And is it enough for someone so damaging to just put out a tweet that he was used and he's stepping away from politics? Should we be demanding more? He went in that White House, that same White House Dr. King was in, and said a lot of stuff that was out of pocket. Number four, why are Black Republicans a problem for Black America within the current political environment? Escapism versus real policy. And the last question is the question of the day, because we're coming around to November 6th. Election day is November 6th. Should Black America turn out, and is it just Republican versus Democrat as the options? We have Stacey Abrams had a big win on the first with the judge striking down some of those voting restrictions in Georgia. Congratulations, Yvette. You had Gillum. You have Gillum ahead in Florida. Young Black male. Is his politics right for us? We gonna get to it. But let's just get right to the first question. What is Blexit and why is it being pushed by Black Republicans? But before I get into the Blexit version that Candace started, I want to give you guys a chance to hear from the founder of the original Blexit. Can you introduce yourself and tell them a little about everything that's going on?
Hi, thanks for having me. Yes, of course. My name is Malia Connolly, and I am the founder of Blexit.
Oh, man. So can you tell us a little bit about when you started Blexit and what the confusion is? Because, you know, some of us, we're just coming into this. We thought Blexit was about the Black exit of Democrats.
Yeah, that's absolutely not what Blexit was or has been, or what it is today. Blexit started after the killing of Philando Castile in July of 2016. It started as a movement around Black economic power, and it came out of a frustration that I had working in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with a lot of young activists, organizers, protesters. We had a young Black man killed less than a year before Philando was killed. His name was Jamar Clark, and his killing by police sparked an occupation that lasted almost a month in front of the 4th Precinct in Minneapolis by a lot of young activists and organizers in our community. And after that occupation, we lost a lot of young people to the movement because of exhaustion, burnout. I was an organizer and worked for a Black-led movement organization on the North Side, and it was my responsibility to, reignite our organizers, to bring them to the table, to help them with resources, therapy, et cetera. And I had a really hard time bringing them back into community. I started hearing rumors of folks having suicide ideation, folks getting into drug addiction, dealing with the trauma of that occupation, dealing with the things that happened to them at the 4th Precinct when the cameras were gone, which was, rubber bullets. There was a drive-by shooting by the KKK. There's a lot more that you can learn about the 4th Precinct occupation online. But it was really traumatizing for a young activist community here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. And Minnesota is the second worst state in the country for Black people. So we face some of the worst economic disparities in the country when it comes to our ability to have employment, our ability to evade the prison industrial complex, et cetera. So it's a really important work that we do. When Philando Castile was killed, I was very heartbroken by the fact that all of the young organizers and activists that I had tried to re-engage with were then flooding to the streets, shutting down freeways, setting up another occupation in front of the governor's residence. And I knew what a lot of people didn't know, that that work needed to go to someone else. Our young people needed an opportunity to heal. They needed to be able to pass the baton. But there was no other movement happening for them to be able to take that beat. And I thought if we had an economic resistance movement, it would allow us to not always rely on the bodies of Black youth for opposing the oppression that faces our community. So Blexit came out of, the concept of Brexit, and exiting systems that we don't agree with. And for us, it was exiting systems that benefit from our pain. So leaving systems that benefit from our pain and building systems that work for us. Organized boycotting with an invest, divest approach. Brexit became a movement a week after Philando was killed, when almost 200 community members came together to talk about economic resistance. And in that meeting, folks decided that we were going to prioritize this movement in our community. And we found, after we started this work, we saw people all over the country using the hashtag Blexit around the same concept: economic resistance, economic activism, making a decision that we were going to start to invest and build systems of, economy that work for us. And so this is the origin of Blexit, and this is where all of the work that we've accomplished in the last 2 years, that's where it started.
Now, look, I got an article. It says Kanye West and Candace Owens stole Blexit from a Black bank movement. And then I have, and I just want to make sure this is legitimate. I have a cease and desist from Frederickson Law Firm that was sent to Blexit, that you guys are infringing on what we set up as Blexit. Is this you guys that sent this letter?
That's right. And it's true that, our organization existed before, and unfortunately, Candace and possibly Kanye, who is distancing himself from this movement at this point, earlier this week, started to use this hashtag in a way of talking about Black folks, exiting the Democratic Party. And to be clear, Blexit has never been used as a moniker around politics. It's always been used around economic activism. And that's not just our movement. It's all across the country. We really were proud of the fact that we were a decentralized movement where Black folks all over the country and all over the world were using this hashtag to talk about strategies and ways that we can build our communities up economically. And so because we found out over the weekend that she started to use this name, that she started to use branding that was very similar to our branding.
Let's break that down. When you say similar, this logo is real similar. As an attorney, I have to say. This little man that supposedly Kanye West designed, or he didn't design, I don't know how they gonna break that down. This logo looks like a bad version of you guys' logo from what I see. And it's interesting to me that Black Republicans went into the White House under a guise that they had their stuff together when the term has already been used and basically I believe you trademarked or something. You set it up with the law firm. This is awful. And so when I see this thing and I see Candace Owens, this 29-year-old that didn't start politics till 2015 based on her own admission. I'm talking about following politics. being set out as a figurehead that black people want to be in the conservative party of today, the Trump conservative party, using a term that black folks have been pushing to support black economics. You have to ask yourself, how awful is this thing? Let me say one last thing. Is there any, I don't want to hold you. I know you're in Central Time. Is there any last thing you want to say to the audience about Blexit and what you're trying to accomplish?
I would say, please join the True Blexit movement. I would say, please share on social media the truth about our movement and what we've accomplished. We are on the precipice of building amazing infrastructure for black economy, including a black-led credit union, the only one that will exist in our state. And it's really important that our work is not eclipsed by, political hoaxes, by folks who are just looking for their 15 minutes. And so we're just asking folks to really share the truth, to talk about what Blexit really is about, and to join our movement. Our website is blexitmn.org, and you can learn more there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. Yvette, you there? This is craziness. This is absolute craziness. What is your takeaway before I even get into the first question fully about what you just heard? Blexit, the black Republican answer to the Democrats, and then the reality that Blexit already existed.
Well, first of all, one of the things that I said, I'm not surprised by anything that your guest, and I think it was wonderful that you had that guest on to talk about what the real Blexit was and how she just, from what I see, allegedly, it looks like Candace Owens just stole everything. Stole the name, stole the logo. She just took whatever and thought she could just run with it. Like copyright ain't no thing, apparently. And I think that really goes to who she is. I think that really goes to what I said about her on the show is that you're a grifter. You're a person who you don't really care about these issues. You don't really want to be involved. You just want to get what you can get. And you tried to play one game as a Democrat, and you tried to try racism or whatever, and that didn't work, and you said you were going to go the other way, but you don't really have any ideals. You don't really have anything that you care about. You're not really invested, or you're not really caring about American DOS people, or what. You're just doing your thing. You're just trying to get a little paper.
Breitbart covered her, put her in a shadowy picture, and it was this whole thing about the introduction to Blexit. I uploaded this is Candace Owens' own words. I uploaded my first video on YouTube 1 year ago. Come on. We've been doing this for years, Yvette. Writing articles, talking about this, going to school. I entitled it, Mom and Dad, I'm a Conservative. Let me read a section of this article to you. It's absolute nonsense. And I'll say this again. Candace Owens can call in if she wants. She can come get this work. Look, I invited her on Facebook and on Twitter. She can come get this work. Because, I don't have no problem in having this discussion. I just know you got a jaguar and a lion up in here. Just know that, because we not going to play them games that you had with Dyson. We going to get to the data and ask you some hard questions about what you know about being a Republican. We ain't even going to ask you about the Democrats. We going to ask, and I'm going to let Yvette loose on you. And you don't want to mess with Yvette on politics. Ask the Breaking Brown crew. So this is where we're at. Let me read a little of this section from her about introducing Blexit, the same term that already had been used for black economic empowerment. Across America, black people are beginning to question political orthodoxy. We have been quietly building an ecosystem of free thinkers. At long last, the intellectual dam is breaking. Again, these are the words of Candace Owens, who was supported by Kanye West and brought this Blexit term. And then Kanye came back and said, I don't really support politics or something of the sort. We'll get to it. This unique moment will come to be known as Blexit, the black exit from the Democrat Party. For decades, the black community has been in an emotionally abusive relationship with the Democratic Party. Our fidelity to leftist politicians, coupled with our false belief that a large government might facilitate solutions, has led to the overall collapse of our families, neighborhoods, and incidentally our futures. That's not what. Look, you got a young girl who don't have the background to be talking about what she's talking about. This is not what led to black failure. What led to black failure is hundreds of years of chattel slavery, followed by Jim Crow, foot to neck, where they wouldn't let us even own things. What does this young girl even understand enough to have the political position that she has? What's your thoughts, Yvette?
Well, no, and let me tell you, like, and she doesn't put herself in a position to be challenged. So let me just tell you this: I went to an immigration event. Everybody was there, from leftist environmentalists to right wing conservatives. Owen comes in, makes a quick speech, right? She's out of there. Like, somebody recognized me from Breaking Brown, wanted to say hello for like 2 minutes. I do that, turn around, this girl is gone. So what I'm telling you is that they don't even put her in a position to be challenged by anyone. And let me just say this. I'm offended at the way that we just kind of allow anybody in our community to talk. Like, when she says to y'all, understand, she said, I didn't even really start trying to understand politics or have an interest in politics in 2015. And that's probably...
Let me read it more. Let me read it to make sure we get the words right, because the words are classic. They should make this a rap. I had no interest in politics whatsoever prior to 2015. This is the head of the new Black Republican Party. 29 years old and a college dropout, and she didn't even know about politics before 2015. Go ahead, Yvette. I'm sorry.
No interest. Now, understand who you're talking to. I'm just trying to put myself in context. I used to watch This Week when it was This Week with David Brinkley. That's how long I've had an interest in politics since elementary, right? But this person gets to just walk in. See, that's the thing that happens. She just gets to walk in and take a microphone. We don't have any kind of criteria. She doesn't have any. I worked on Capitol Hill. You know, she doesn't have to have any kind of bio. I majored in political science. But you all are letting somebody in here and become a leader of a group without having any kind of criteria in terms of what that person knows. It used to be a time you and I talked about, I can't remember the young lady's name, but she was a political analyst. She was on CNN for a while, and she was a black woman, light-skinned black woman, but she had worked in the Republican Party for a long time. That was her bio. Like, there was absolutely no reason for anybody, black Republican, a black Democrat, anybody, to look at Candace Owens and say, this is somebody who has some bona fides and some knowledge and is anchored in history, and so I should follow her. This was a failure of black Republicans, and they should really take some time to investigate who they are and what they have become and what they have allowed themselves to become in the era of Trump.
Man, Yvette, look. The second question is, who is Candace Owens, and is she qualified to be a thought leader for Black America? We're into that question. USA Today followed her and they did this little expose, and it just didn't make much sense that they weren't being clear that she wasn't anybody to be following. I'm going to read a small section to you so you can get some grasp on this thing. This is the way they started. It's a Wednesday morning at Liberty University, and the basketball arena is packed with nearly 10,000 people. Students reach their arms skyward, eyes closed, entranced in deafening Christian rock music. Backstage, administrators and students dote on Candace Owens. But let's stop for a second. Liberty University is in Lynchburg, Virginia. Lynchburg, Virginia is known for tobacco and slave trading. In the 1850s, it was one of the richest towns or communities per capita because of slave trading and tobacco. This school is a Christian conservative school. I don't care who celebrates her coming, because they've been waiting for somebody black to say it's all right, America's all right, for decades. This 29-year-old college dropout is nobody to be speaking for Black America on this campus. The president of this school is Jerry Falwell Jr. You want to talk about him for a second, or his father, just to give them context?
Listen, you don't even racist, bigoted, fake Christian. All you got to do, there's a great debate. I think it's probably, and may he rest in peace, Christopher Hitchens, between those two on Fox News, where he just calls him excrement, and that's what he was. That's what he was, and that's who he was. Listen, I was in Lynchburg, Virginia one time, only because Howard University had a retreat when we were actually in school for leaders within the college. And it's a very odd place. It's a very weird place. And that Falwell College is just a place to bring up like little Christian zealots who are going to be little zealots who can who don't believe in any kind of true Christianity. They believe in like this right wing, retarded, backward version. That's the whole job of that school.
So then we got to ask ourselves, how irresponsible was it to publish this article this way by USA Today that frames this as though this is normal? This is absolutely problematic, this whole first paragraph, but I'm going to continue on. On stage, she speaks for about 24 minutes, calmly gliding back and forth, speaking of Candace Owens, across the stage in heels, attacking some of her usual targets, Planned Parenthood, feminism, the welfare system. She builds to the moment. Then she goes for it. Kanye West, man, he's a wonderful man. So that's her crescendo. Kanye West is a wonderful man. The Kanye West that we saw at the Trump White House. Let's keep going. She says to our applause and cheering, breaking the quiet of what had become a calm, attentive audience. What is it that President Donald Trump, Kanye West, and Candace Owens have in common? She asked rhetorically. Kanye West describes it as dragon energy. And to me, I think it's individualism. It's believing in yourself. It's standing up in the face of everybody telling you you can't. Since April, when West tweeted, "I love the way Candace Owens thinks. She has never been far behind the star," playing his chief defender. So look, we got this whole little expose on Candace Owens, but ain't none of it really about, to me, Candace Owens. Her background doesn't speak to her positioning. Her positioning speaks to how vacuous America and American politics has gotten in terms of being able to come out of nowhere with no political knowledge, with little political background, and begin to speak for a race in terms of representing as though we have a split amongst us where some of us are becoming Republican. And I just think this is such a problem. What do you think about this article, Yvette?
Well, the article is very biased in terms of she has this movement. She doesn't have any grassroots movement. Turning Point USA picked her up, as they often do with these disaffected people, and made her into a star. She didn't have any kind of grassroots movement or grassroots backing. She went on YouTube and made like this video that went viral because
on her phone or something, on her phone or something in her room.
And so you say what?
On her phone in her room, it looked like to me. It was like, don't say it like it's Yvette Carnell and Breaking Brown with a full studio and a regular show.
It's so easy to go viral. Like, you just got to be black and Republican. Like, they're so desperate. They're so desperate for somebody. But let me just say one thing. You can't say Kanye that you were used because you found her.
We gonna get Yvette. Don't jump through the show. We gonna get to Ye. But let's talk about Owens a little more, because I'm sorry. I know that we got foot to neck right now. But she says more than anything, Owens preaches against victimhood, particularly among African Americans. This is the USA Today article. A pull yourself up by your bootstraps mindset. Understand that this is a young woman that does nothing but claims victimhood. She's always claiming that she got hit with an egg or she got screamed down. I mean, I ain't never seen nobody claim victimhood more than her. In fact, one of the things that happened is back in 2007, she got the NAACP involved with a whole racial incident, got a settlement, and she was Democrat then. One of the things that I see is these people that are supposed to be conservative Republicans, they probably voted for Obama. They were supporters of a whole different set of politics, and they saw the sea change, and they jumped on a new boat. That's not a real conservative. That's not real politics. In so many ways, what we see is that we see grifters. And if you don't know what grifter means, it almost means scavenger. Anybody who's going to do anything to be famous. But this ain't the time or the place for it. If you don't know what you're talking about, you need to shut up and sit down. You need to get educated. Go finish your degree. Then you can come back and maybe know a little bit more, and you probably won't say the same things you're saying now. What do you think, Yvette?
Yeah, I didn't even know she was that young. I didn't know she was 28. And I knew she didn't finish. I knew she didn't finish her degree, but I didn't know she was 28. I didn't know she had no history in the Republican Party and when she first came out. But what I will say is that this is the problem. See, what we have is it's almost like the hip hopperization or immediate stardom or the Real Housewives. You know, everybody from the Real Housewives to the what you call them, the little hip hop celebrities that do the little reality show. You know, what happens is everybody's looking for their 15 minutes. everybody's just trying to pop. And, like, this isn't about popping.
No, it ain't.
This is about doing work. You might never pop, and that's got to be fine with you. You got to be okay with this. I did the work. I put the work out there. I help people understand what I need them to understand, and that's good enough for me. If you in here for your ego, or if you in here to make some money, you cannot do anything good for your people, because anybody can move you in any which way out of that track. You got to be in a track where you're directly in a track to do something good for yourself and your community. But you got to put your community first. But if you're trying to pop, there's no way for you to do that. And it's obvious. For you, they go back and talk about blogs that Candace Owens had about how awful the Tea Party was, and then she turned on a dime and talked about how wonderful they were. You were just looking for any avenue to pop. You just looking for any avenue to get your fame and get your money and make your ego and be a star. See, that's the problem when we choose those people to be leaders.
Yeah, I have to agree. And what I start to see is when I look at this thing, I look over at this whole thing with the Blexit, and I have to say thank you so much to the founder that came on and spoke to us earlier. If you missed that, when I reposted, make sure you watch the beginning of the show. She broke this thing down, how this isn't just about confusion. This is really about somebody infringing on something that already was moving in a direction for Black empowerment. Now, what's interesting is there's another article that I found that says Blexit's website is made up of stolen photos and stock images. This is done by an author named Duncan Cooper. He went through the whole website and everything is stock images. In fact, he went so far that he contacted one of the dudes that is in the stock image. And the guy says, I didn't know my photo was on the Blexit website. How do I get him to take it down? He took, you know how you just they pay you as a model to take general family photos? That's what he did. You know, in this article it says Owens launched Blexit at Turning Point USA's Young Black Leadership Summit, a 4-day conference attended by hundreds of people that included a meeting with Trump at the White House. Her Twitter feed is full of retweets of Blexit supporters. But what actually is Blexit? As of this writing, their Donatedly page had raised $45,000, but the About Us was totally vague. And this is one of the issues I see with Owens, Blexit, and Black Republicans as a whole, because their whole answer is not to be Democratic, not to be a Democrat. That's not enough. See, me and Yvette do weekly shows. We do articles you can find on Huffington Post, The Griot, you can find on Counterpunch, where we talk about real stuff. We talk about data, political direction, immigration, real stuff, classification of the group as American descendants of slaves. These people, they just grifters. And so, like, I start to look at this thing, and if you didn't do nothing but throw your website together, I have to wonder about your whole politics. Again, this is Dash Radio, Dash Talk X, 323-230-4610. Call in, get your opinion open on this Owens thing. I wanted to set this up with Yvette and the founder of Blexit, the original Blexit. But, Yvette, you know, when we look at Candace Owens, and we look at this whole thing, I go back and I look at this debate that she had with Michael Eric Dyson. And I really wanted, I wasn't hoping that she made a coherent argument, because I don't necessarily believe in what Black Republican conservatives of the moment are speaking about on many issues. But I expected to hear like some sense of making common sense. And what I heard was nothing. Let me share a section with you of what she said. She says, here goes Dyson. Dyson says, here we are 53 years past the Voting Rights Act. We've seen the resurgence of an attempt to nullify and destroy that black vote. We've seen attempts to somehow, this is on MSNBC, live discussion. You can go find it on YouTube to watch the whole thing. She says back to him, sorts of violence being directed towards black people. Am I black? I am a black conservative. And I'm not hearing anything said about the fact that about 25 white Democrats assembled to kick me out of a restaurant yesterday, to throw water and to throw eggs at me because I'm come on. Miss, don't be a victim. Sounds like a victim. The MSNBC is no place for you to be talking about yourself, but you might be a little girl still. And that's all right, but you got to step to the side if you're going to be a little girl still. Yvette, what do you think about this debate between her and Dyson?
Well, I wouldn't have, you know, a lot of people say, well, you should debate everyone. I don't think somebody like, you know, I have solid disagreements with Dyson's on a lot of stuff, especially how he, you know, his proximation to power in terms of the Obama administration, and how he used to call Obama Pharaoh when Obama first was at that White House, and he eventually, you know, made him into like his best friend instead of continuing that to hold his feet to the fire. But what I will say is that I wouldn't have shared that stage with her. Like, I think that elevated her to put a professor, an esteemed writer of several books on Black politics, for him to get the same stage to Candace Owens, to have to debate somebody who came out of nowhere and doesn't have, you know, people talk about respectability politics. This is not respectability politics. This is like having some kind of bona fides. She hadn't even demonstrated that she was an activist or she was someone who could hold her own at that time. If you have to have some kind of criteria. I'm not telling you what your criteria necessarily should be, but to be out here and say that having any criteria in terms of who gets to have this conversation, you're not going to have any criteria. That's the problem. You can't call having no criteria at all respectability politics. And so that Dyson has to debate anybody that the Republicans decide to pull out the woodwork
because they can't find nobody. Look, Yvette, we got a caller. Let me take this caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Gary from North Carolina A&T.
Look, you got to turn your volume down a little bit, a little loud. Let me ask you this. Look, we don't know that much about Candace Owens. She won't tell us much about that father, particularly that mother. You can't find anything about the mother. You know, we're a group trying to define this American DOS. I think it's hugely important to at least, I'm not saying you got to show us no pictures, but we need to know who they are. Because that's the only thing that she has as expertise. She doesn't have a political background where she was involved with the Republican or the Democratic Party in a unique way. She doesn't have an advanced PhD in a particular area of economics or psychology. So her only claim to be able to talk about this is being an American DOS. So then you got to show us. If you're not going to show us that, then just move. Caller, give me your take on that, and give me your take on what you called in it for anyway.
When it comes to Candace Owens, she's a fraud, and we know that she's a fraud. I mean, originally, before Trump was in office, he was like, I hope and pray the Tea Party movement die. I hope and pray Trump don't become president. Now, all of a sudden, Candace Owens pops out of nowhere, knowing she can't debate. Turning Point USA even admitted. They said, don't put her out in front of a debate because she is not further crafting her politics. That shows you she's a scavenger. That shows you she's bought out. She is sold, and she's going to regurgitate what her masters tell us to do. She ain't got no business talking. That's when I wonder. I was like, when are black folk going to tell Candace Owens, get out of here and shut up?
Hey, Candace, let me say something. If she listening, hey, Candace, you can call in. I ain't going to mess with you. Just call in right now. Tone Toss, 323-230-4610. I'd be nice. Look, let me say this. Much of what she says makes no sense, not just to me, but based on the data. You know, we did this report. I bring it up when it's relevant. It's really relevant now. Did a report, what we get wrong about closing the racial wealth gap. You can pick that up for free on the internet. And what you find is that everything that black Republican bootstrappers believe doesn't work. Wealth is calcified. Everything they believe. Black business ownership, that black banking will save us, that our problem is family disorganization. So what she need to do is start off just reading this report. It was done. Is if you want to find it, it's not on Turning Point's website. It's on Duke's website, the Ivy League school. See, this is the thing about what I'm seeing is that people think we all the same, and we not the same. When I run with Yvette, I'm running with somebody who was in senators' offices, Congress people's offices, working for years. Somebody who went to a HBCU and got her degree, walked across the stage. Somebody who supports the last HBCU in Simmons College. The one of the heads of the Angela Project, which is trying to recognize 400 years of slavery. Not a 29-year-old that used to work at Vogue, that didn't know about politics in 2015, and now is being used as a figurehead to make it seem like we got some black Republicans. Caller, is there anything else you want to say to the audience?
Yes. Before I go, this whole idea of black conservatism is completely an oxymoron. Black conservatism, if you go all the way back to Booker T. Washington, was telling black folks, just do it for yourself. Don't make these white folks upset. Just submit yourself. Have you read the book Ewald Frazier, The Black Bourgeoisie, where literally they have white standards? Literally in desegregation, they were like, this is going to perk our business. This is a con game. When are black people going to understand these black conservatives and their quasi-black elitists, black upper class, or black misleadership functionary ideology has led to the detriment of us?
Come on. This is what I love, these young black brothers calling in. Let me take this next caller. Thank you for calling. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's going on, Tom? This is Jimmy from New York.
What's up? You got the NYC in the building. What's your take on this whole thing?
Yes, sir. I just wanted to share a little something about Candace Owens. I don't know if you read one of her older blogs about how she had a little incident in Hartford, Connecticut, where she grew up. So she grew up in this upper middle class community, obviously, outlier of probably being one of the few black students. And she got teased or whatever, and it made national headlines. And come to find out, one of the students that accused her was the son of the mayor and soon-to-be future governor of Connecticut. I don't know how many black students, or let alone,
And this is the problem. She's like, we're not getting enough about her parents and about her background. We're getting a bunch of hodgepodge. Yvette, do you think it's important to know where Candace come from?
Yeah, I think like, I mean, just from the show, like, everybody knows that my parents are factory workers and, retired factory workers. I think that's not, for you to be like this titular head of the party in so many ways. I don't feel like you've been transparent enough. Like, there's a little video of her talking about there is no white privilege, and in that video she only talks about her granddad. And so I feel like there's a lot of context. There's a lot of context that is missing about herself and her life. I don't feel like she was fully vetted by the people who put her out front in the first place.
And what I feel is that what ends up happening is, because she doesn't have a PhD or a unique experience being in the, say, Obama White House, all she has is her background. So that means if you don't give us that, you can't give us nothing. You don't have, like, because I already feel like even with that, you don't have enough. You need a lot more learning. There's just not enough awareness of the condition of black life, black wealth, white wealth, America. It's just like you still at high school level education. That's what I hear. Caller, is there any last thing you want to say to the audience?
Yeah, I just want to add also, like, and she also added in that little blog that she wrote, she was writing in retrospect, that she, kind of puts herself in those kids' position, and she was like, oh, there's being kids, and, she kind of forgives them and just kind of lets the situation go. So basically, she's basically a white woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the young woman. I'm just saying what I know is everything she say don't make no sense to me. And it don't make no sense when you put it up against the data. We're going to get to the black Republicans in a second. Caller, thank you so much for calling in. Yvette, look, let's talk about this third question. Why is Kanye West a problem? Because without him, there is no Candace Owens. And that's her only heat. She don't have enough. Nobody really cares what Candace said. She's going to come and go. I don't think Kanye going to be talking to her anymore anyway. My experience with black celebrities is something like this, just like how Kanye went hot cold. Like, that's it. We done. So why is Kanye West a problem for black politics? And is it enough for someone so damaging, meaning Kanye West going to the Trump White House, to just put out a tweet he was used and he's stepping away from politics? Everybody who hasn't seen that tweet, I'll pull it up on the finished version. Is that enough? Doesn't he owe us more than that?
Well, yes, it does. But you said something a while back when we had a conversation offline, and you said you can't really want the things that come from having a complex life and having complex thoughts and complex understanding. If you don't want to be a complex person, if you don't want to think that way, all this stuff comes from complexity. Politics is about complexity. It's not about simplicity. And so what we see with Kanye is a very simplistic, simple-minded person who wants to navigate a very complex space that he can't navigate. And so it's I put up a quote. I don't know if it's from Machiavelli. We don't really know, but this is like a wise man does at once what a fool does last. And so when Kanye West had that first thought that I'm going to support this person or retweet this person, this Candace Owens person, his second thought should have been like, no, I'm just going to do my creative thing. I'm just going to do my beat, or I'm just going to do my Adidas. I'm not ready for this.
But he trying to Yvette.
100,000 thoughts later.
He trying to mix up, being a rapper with a politician. This is all coming from Obama and Jay-Z. He thought he was the next step from that. It's like, dude, you don't know enough. And so, like, I look at this thing and you got this article. How much can we blame Kanye West for the terrible Blexit logo? The logo that we showed earlier. What you see is that I'm gonna read a little bit. Graphic design is his passion. This goes to Yvette's point. Kanye West is now dipping his toe into logo making, crafting, or at least helping to craft the X in the logo for Blexit. This is the big discrepancy. Supposedly, somebody else didn't want to do it, and then Kanye said something, and then Candace Owens went and ran with it and said that he helped design it, and he didn't. So the X in the logo for Blexit, a self-described frequency for those who have released themselves from the political orthodoxy, is a teal and orange T-shirt and hats featuring the Blexit logo and "We Free" on them. We Free were handed out at the Young Black Leadership Summit in Washington, D.C. Owens credited West with their design. With their bright colors, they do look a little more fashionable than your average MAGA hat. Don't worry too much about it just yet. On Monday, Owens seemed to backtrack a bit on West's involvement, and as per usual for Trump World Desian, blamed the media for getting it wrong. I said on stage that my friend and fellow superhero helped me design the X for Blexit. Well, yeah, Yvette, superhero. This may shock the world, but Ye is a world-renowned designer. Everyone who knows him asks for his advice on design. See, this is the crazy. Ye supports various people in different. Look, this lady met him this year. And then she was talking when Kanye said, "I'm not messing with basically you. I'm not messing with you." Candace Owens said Kanye West used tweet was a bullet piercing her heart. She talks like somebody that don't have enough words to really explain her feelings. A bullet piercing your heart? A guy that you met this year saying that he's not messing with you anymore on a business level. See, I don't know if you recreated that relationship. In this article, I want to share a little bit about it, but go ahead, Yvette. What do you think about this whole Kanye West, Candace Owens fallout?
Well, he was never the thing about it is he went too far. He never should have retweeted somebody he didn't know and he hadn't vetted. But he's not a thinking person. I don't think we understand how irrational and erratic Kanye is and how we should never listen to him about anything that has anything to do with I got a really hot beat or whatever. I'm through with him. I threw Kanye in the trash. But what I think the second part we have to understand is how desperate this person is. What you just said, think about what you just said, a website about Blexit, Black Leader Democratic Party says "We Free." That's
on the T-shirt. You don't want no T-shirt, Yvette?
Get our vote by calling us slaves.
Ain't it crazy? She said, look, this is her words. This is her words. Kanye was completely right to feel used in that regard. And as I have done personally, I would like to publicly apologize to him for any undue stress or pain or look, ain't no time for no apologies. Get it right the first time or get out the room. You finish. You done.
And here's the thing. We should have problems with the Democratic Party. We should have problems with the way that we have not gotten as much as we needed in exchange for our vote. That's a legitimate critique. But please don't act like we're all just stupid for being Democrats. The party of Lincoln became the party of Goldwater. And that's how black people left. Black people did not leave for no reason. We did not leave because we were stupid. We left because that party went all the way to the right, and we could not stay there. But the problem is we got over here, and this party didn't give us enough, and then they gave away a lot of our stuff to a whole bunch of other groups that had nothing to do with us. So we're in a pickle. But don't act like we just crazy and the Republican Party is some kind of answer, and we just...
But how somebody going to know that? How somebody going to know that didn't start until 2015 following politics? You know, you had Kanye West on Tuesday night, I believe it's on Twitter. My eyes are now wide open, and now I realize I've been used to spread messages I don't believe in. I'm distancing myself from politics and completely focusing on being creative. And then Owens jumped out and said it was all me. It was just me. It's not Trump. Save me. Don't throw me away. Turning point. Okay. So look, now that we finished with the whole Blexit, Candace Owens things, let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about black Republicans and whether they make sense in this America. Escapism versus real policy. Let's look at it. So everybody understands there's this great article that's difference between Democrats and Republicans. Let's talk real. It breaks it down into sections, and then what it says is taxes. Republicans believe that both the rich and the poor should pay the same share of taxes. Democrats believe in raising taxes for the upper class and lowering taxes for the lower and middle class. I want you to understand the difference here. And you look at voter ID. Republicans are requesting photo identification for voting. They want to keep the vote low, white and old, because then they're going to win. Whatever they can do. You see that in Georgia. Your name, Jerome Jackson. Is that with an S or a Z? Because this looked like an S on this license. I think it's with a Z. You can't vote today. Democrats believe that everyone has the right to vote and opposes photo identification. Problem being, they've stretched it to the point where some states they're trying to push illegals can vote. So that's the other side of it. But at least you can go vote. Let me say this. Abortion. Republicans, largely influenced by religion and tradition, believe that the government should restrict abortion. Democrats support Roe v. Wade and believe that a woman should have the right to make her own decisions. You got to understand all these different moving parts. Limits of government. Republicans believe that a smaller government is better. Democrats believe that the government should have a strong role in helping and supporting Americans. Look, I just saw something from the Wall Street Journal. Now, you can question the methodology a little bit, but the middle black millennial earns $15,000 a year, according to their methodology from the census. Understand what that means. You ain't gonna get no inheritance. Uber got you out driving around. You're gonna need some medical care from the government. You might need a little help with your food. And what you see is that all of this thing is essentially putting you in a position where you don't have enough. And then moving forward, healthcare. Republicans support private healthcare systems and believe that regulation of the national healthcare system should not be entirely in the hands of government, whereas Democrats support public universal healthcare. Yvette, you got the Obamacare. Individual versus collective rights. Republicans believe in individual rights and in the survival of the fittest. Democrats believe in collective rights over individual rights. So this is, when you look at everything other than immigration, black folks line up with Democrats. Now, I'm not talking about what you need to do to vote. But what I am saying is that for you to think that you can side as a black Republican on any of these, especially as a young millennial black Republican, on any of these issues with the hard right Republican Party of the moment, it's got to be insane. Especially if a few weeks ago you were essentially a Democrat supporting Obama. Yvette, what do you think about this thing?
Listen, about Mailman of the RNC, who was once chairman of the RNC, I think during the George W. Bush administration, apologized to the NAACP about the racial rhetoric used by the Republican Party over the generations. He apologized for that. Now, that I'm not saying that's good or that was enough, but that's not no money, that's not no wealth, that's not no nothing. But what I'm trying to give you is a sense of at least the sentiment that the Republican Party was trying to express at that moment versus what we're seeing now. What I'm telling you, what we're seeing now, this kind of overt kind of, it's unlike, I mean, you think about Charlottesville, you think about them little people with the tiki torches and all that stuff. Like, this is a different Republican Party. This is not the Republican Party that you even saw a lot of black Republicans in and having conversations in. And the question that I ask is not about, are you a conservative? I ask, what role, if I talk to a Republican, what role are you playing in your Republican Party right now to beat back the insanity within your own party? Because I understand that America is America, and America is a plane that flies with two wings right now, a Republican Party and a Democratic Party. I get that. But if you're a Republican, what kind of Republican are you within this party that is espousing a sort of racial hatred towards us? In terms of American DOS.
This is
right, and grouping.
Come on, Yvette, don't get them like this. Don't be on fire like this. Dash Radio, Dash Talk X. Please use the super chat. We on the YouTube. We having a discussion. We got 700 people in there talking on this Friday night about black politics, black life, American politics. We got the election around the corner. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Greetings, esteemed tone. This is Cerulean Gray calling from the Twin Cities.
Yeah, you the last caller of the night. Give me your opinion on this.
Well, there's a couple of things. Like,
you got to keep it short though, because I got to get around this corner and I got to talk about voting.
First, with the Black Republicans, with Blexit, they're both related because what you're seeing is a reemergence of Southern strategy politics being refaced and blackface. Apparently, a lot of these people have never really looked at the bill for the fiscal year of 2019, which actually spells the end of black politics, rise of black unemployment. 20% of all black people that make middle class work for government. So when they're talking about small government, understand they're actually talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about.
Black unemployment.
Yeah, the number one employer of black folks is the post office. Understand the reason why we got to work in public sector is because private sector always treats us unfairly. We have no nepotism. The problem being is that our parents went up the ladder at the post office, but ain't no nepotism at the post office. So now they can't transfer that advantage that they got by being in the public sector, and now there's no affirmative action. So the kids are shut out driving Uber. Any last thing you want to say? Because I'm gonna turn around this. Well, actually, you can stay with us. You can. I love your vibe. This is the last question of the night. Election day is November 6th. Should black America turn out, and is it Republican versus Democrat? Hold on, caller, because I'm going to come to you second. But what I'm going to say is you don't have a choice. Understand that when you get your ballot, for those people that never voted, there's a lot of stuff on the ballot other than just Republican, Democrat. It don't flip over like you just turn it in and it's blue or red. No, it got all the propositions. In California, we got a rental control proposition on the ballot. A rental control proposition on the ballot. Understand that you might not have health care. Understand that judges that might decide a case that your cousin, your son, your friend are on will be decided upon. Oftentimes, prosecutors pass the muster because we don't turn out and decide to pick the public defender. This is what's on the ballot. So you don't have a choice but to turn out, in my view. Yvette, can you give your opinion?
Well, yeah, I think you don't have to and I think we may have to come to a time if we could get ourselves organized where we have to not hold out on not vote on anything but just one candidate. What candidate? I'm just not gonna move. I think we have to move collectively in a way to where we offer you our vote and we collectively as a group withhold it from one person. But you have to you show up not to just you can vote down ballot. You can write in and vote down ballot for the people that you really care about, local candidates and stuff like that. I think I've gotten to the point, maybe I'm older or whatever, where I'm just you need to put forth an effort to vote. But then you can't the voting is like the end of the sausage where the stuff comes out. All this other stuff that went into it, even the stuff that we do in terms of trying to understand politics, that's the beginning and the foundation. You got to understand that voting is the end. You can't just show up, put a sticker on your head, take a picture, and think you finished. And then even after you do that, you got to do the work of holding that person accountable. Even if all you can do on that day is tweet that person and say, I disagree with what you said, and your data is wrong, and your stuff is wrong.
Yvette,
whatever you have to do.
Let me compare that because I used a great analogy. You can't show up to the grocery store 10 minutes before it closed and then be mad at the manager and say, y'all only giving me 10 minutes to shop. That's what it's like to come to the voting polls and just talk about the Democrat and the Republican at the top of the ticket. You didn't do the voting process. It starts years before the actual midterms or the presidential election. Understand that process. Understand that you might have dropped the ball. Understand that you got to get involved. As an example, in Chicago, they got 11 candidates for mayor. Caller, what's your thought on the whole thing, voting?
Well, a lot of these guys are talking about their black Republicans anyway. They don't really understand politics because, one, block voting matters. The thing is you have this argument between black Republicans where they always bring up this thing where all the black communities, they're ran by Democratic policies, not even understanding that all policy is bipartisan. And you do have the power to change it, and it doesn't matter what party that you're supporting, but it's better that you have the block vote in order to change it.
Come on.
And then the number one thing is you can ask any single black so-called Republican, ask them what provisions have been made to the black Republican constituency. Nobody can give you an answer because they have made no demands. No
policy.
They're advocating for small government, which is basically black unemployment. When you look at the fiscal budget or the budget for 2019 fiscal year, the most pronounced thing that you see on there is the opioid so-called epidemic thing that they're highlighting. November 1st, a lot of these letters went out for people that make minimum wage that still qualify to be on state Medicare, Medicaid. A lot of people are getting stripped off of these programs. Now, mind you, in the 2019 fiscal year, $5 billion in new resources over the next 5 years. These are new facilities for treatment. So what it looks like they're doing is that they're taking the white opioid junkies, trying to clean them up, and I'm projecting that the 2020 fiscal year budget is going to have a provision in there for federal guaranteed jobs, and they're going to mostly go to a white constituency.
Come on, caller. Look, man. Thank you so much for calling in. We're coming to the end of the show. I think they really got a lot from your speaking on this point. But Yvette, look, we got through it. Candace Owens, Kanye West, Blexit, and voting. And is there one last message you have for everybody as they go out November 6th and put their name on the ballot?
One last message I have from everybody is, and this snuck up on me. I know all of the people I'm voting for. I know who I'm voting against. But keep in mind that there's a lot of ballot initiatives and stuff that's out there. That snuck up on me. There's a ballot initiative here about the victims of if somebody get murdered, how much you have to say. I said, I know all the candidates. I know all the, but I didn't. That was snuck up on me. Like, understand that voting isn't just about people. What you vote for a lot of times is money. Money that's going to be used for different initiatives. Money, how power will be expressed. Politics is nothing but an expression of power. So when you look at that, make sure you look at all these ballot initiatives as well and figure out how power will be expressed and how that power will enhance your life or limit your life when you go to the polls.
For me, what I'm going to say is you got that phone and they got that Google. Google some of your propositions. Google what's on your ballot. Don't wait till you get to the ballot and just start picking stuff. Understand the general things that are on the ballot before you get there. That's voting. Voting ain't just so you can get the sticker and put it on Instagram. The vote sticker. I know everybody like to put that on Instagram. Show us what your proposition, what your politics is. Stop being vacuous and start being complete and understand that you are here and that you are American. You are American DOS, and hold your chest out as you vote. Look, this is Tone Talks. Please use the super chat on YouTube or support on tonetalks.org. And we're going to be here next Friday. Next Friday, we doing that social media show, and I'm going to have Zoe Williams back. Yvette, thank you so much.
No problem. For different initiatives, money, how power will be expressed. Politics is nothing but an expression of power. So when you look at that, make sure you look at all these ballot initiatives as well and figure out how power will be expressed and how that power will enhance your life or limit your life when you go to the polls.
For me, what I'm going to say is you got that phone and they got that Google. Google some of your propositions. Google what's on your ballot. Don't wait till you get to the ballot and just start picking stuff. Understand the general things that are on the ballot before you get there. That's voting. Voting ain't just so you can get the sticker and put it on Instagram. You know, the vote sticker. I know everybody like to put that on Instagram. Show us what your proposition, what your politics is. Stop being vacuous and start being complete, and understand that you are here and that you are American. You are American DOS, and hold your chest out as you vote. Look, this is Tone Talks. Please use the super chat on YouTube or support on tonetalks.org. And we're going to be here next Friday. Next Friday, we doing that social media show, and I'm going to have Zoe Williams back. Yvette, thank you so much.
No problem. Appreciate it.
Tone Talks presents the reality behind the racial wealth gap. In America, we understand race as a literal foot race, where whites just got a lead based on effort, when in actuality, due to several hundred years of slavery and 100 years of Jim Crow, black people were more like the shoes whites wore down to run forward economically. The recent data